Green?
Yeah, they should be good. Okay, we're gonna be live in maybe 3 seconds, 2, 1. All right. Okay, so yeah, let's go ahead and kick this off. So these are the capstone presentations for the Actualize Coding Bootcamp program. This most recent batch of students is from an online Chicago hybrid cohort. We are in the midst of a pandemic, a global pandemic. So we are actually not holding any in-person classes. So my name is Peter Jang. I am normally a Chicago lead instructor at Actualize, and I'm also the Dean of Instruction. I was the instructor for this particular group of students who will be presenting their capstones today. It's about 8 students in total. And you guys are going to hear each of their projects, which we're all very proud of. Everybody has built sort of a wide variety of really amazing apps with different technologies. And you'll get a chance to hear about, what their apps are, what they do, how they built them. And we also have 2 panelists here who will be working with the students and asking them questions after each presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce those 2 panelists right now. First panelist is Jay Wengrow, who's also the CEO of the company. Jay, if you want to say a few words about yourself.
Sure. Hey, everyone. Thank you to all of you who are watching this showcase either now or in the future. I want to say congratulations. So yeah, I'm the CEO of Actualize. Okay, moving on. I want to say congrats to all of the students who are now graduates of Actualize. I'm really excited to see your projects shortly. Also, just wanted to say thank you to Peter, the instructor for this cohort, and also the dean for everything he does and for facilitating this cohort. I want to thank career advisors, Lisa and Alex, and I want to thank the TAs as well, Kevin and Jennifer, and really excited to see the presentations.
Thank you, Jay. And our second panelist is Emily Ekdahl. If you want to say a few words about yourself, Emily.
Hello, I'm Emily Ekdahl. I'm a data engineer. I'm currently unemployed, but I'm headed to work at Fetch Rewards, where I'll be doing data engineering there. So looking forward to hearing all of your presentations tonight. I'm a former alumni, if that wasn't obvious.
I think it was obvious. Everybody can tell that you're a very competent developer who was a graduate from one of my cohorts. So if Emily asks you any difficult questions, you can blame me afterwards. If Emily asks you any stumpers or anything like that. Cool. Yeah. So yeah, before we kick things off, I just want to say again, everybody here did an amazing job, and you guys really worked hard these last couple of weeks and throughout the entire program. And so we're all very proud of all the work that you guys have done, and we're excited to sort of see, your chance to sort of, show off some of the stuff that you built. So without further ado, let's go ahead and kick things off with the first presenter, which is Isaiah. So Isaiah, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and share your screen.
Okay. Okay, so my name is Isaiah Rappaport. This is my app songwriter. I love writing songs. I'm always coming up with new songs, but a problem that I always find myself facing, and pretty much any songwriter out there faces, is it gets a little unorganized. So you have one program where you go to record audio, you have another place, either your notebook or notes app, where you write down lyrics, and it just gets a little messy. So this app is to solve that problem and give songwriters everything they need in one main hub. So a new user can go ahead and sign up. They can add a profile picture, name, username, email, and password. The profile picture is saved using Cloudinary, so the image URL source is the Cloudinary URL, but I have an account, so I'm just gonna log in. And then that brings me to the My Music page, where it has my profile picture, And these are songs that I made before, but I'll get back to that. First, I'll go ahead and make a new song so I can put in a title. So awesome. Song title. Can choose a genre. This is a little bluesy. Then I already have an audio file ready to go. Then I can put in lyrics. Amazing lyrics here. And then go ahead and submit. And here is my new song. So I can listen. And then here are the lyrics. And here's where suggestions from other users would be if they thought they had a good suggestion for this song. If a user doesn't have a ready to go audio file, they can go to the record page. This was made using the web audio recording API. As you can see, it's picking up the microphone right now. I can go ahead and press record. So right now it's recording. And whenever I'm ready, press stop. I can name it. So new song title. And then here record. So right now it's recording. And whenever I'm ready. So I don't like this as a song very much. But if I did, I can download it right from here and upload this audio file for my new song. But I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. This app also has a keyboard page, which was also made with the web audio synth API. I can choose different sounds, play around with the volume. And if you want to do a little brainstorming and know what notes you're playing, here's a little digital keyboard on this page. So there's a fun little digital keyboard for brainstorming. And another problem that songwriters face is hitting lyrical roadblocks and not being able to come up with that perfect rhyme. So I also made a rhyming generator using the Rhyme Brain API. So if you need a word to rhyme with, let's say music, then submit. And here are a bunch of words that you can use that rhyme with the word music. Then we could go over to the home page, have a cool little CSS animation, and a little inspirational music quote over there. And then this button links back to the new song page. And here is the songs index of all the users' songs. So I can listen. And then here are the lyrics. And if I wanted to make a suggestion, let's say try this in minor and submit. And now this user has a new suggestion for their song. And then I can go ahead and log out. And that is my app.
All right. Amazing job, Isaiah. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and kick it off to our first panelist, Jay Wengrow.
Yeah, congrats, Isaiah. This is a really fun app. Which of the different APIs that you've worked with, I know there's the web audio APIs and the rhyming API, which of them was the most difficult to tackle?
So actually the Rhyme Brain API caused the most issues. I ended up having to do a web request and do the JSON myself in the back end because it was the CSS was messing up with the CSS and it looked kind of ugly. So that took a nice amount of fiddling around with to get it to work properly.
Yeah, it's really cool. The idea is it just gives you like an array of all words that may rhyme with the one that you submitted?
Yeah, so actually the first are words that directly rhyme, and then there's indirect rhymes at the end that it also gives you.
Got it. So you just pull all of those into your app.
Exactly.
Really cool. With the web audio APIs, like how I'm not familiar, I haven't used them. So, like the the image that you had where you can see the wavelength or whatever it is changing as you're speaking,
hmm
is that just something that's like built right in, or was there some configuration you had to do for that?
Yeah, so actually it was built right in. I didn't expect that, but it was definitely a nice surprise when I saw that. So I didn't really have to touch it much to
And
get.
what about the piano?
So the piano was also tricky to get working because that CSS was conflicting pretty hard with the CSS of the theme that I had.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to play around with that one quite a bit and find I couldn't use the documentation was not so clear, so I had to use the page source of the piano synth and use that code in my code and then just fiddle around until
Mm-hmm.
I got it working.
Got it. Oh, these are all really cool features. And this is really impressive. Really nice job, Isaiah.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's a real inspiration. I saw a good rhyme for music would be toothpick. Not something I would have chosen, but like I'm already starting to think of songs. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling inspired. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to our next presenter. So that would be Taylor. If you can go ahead and share your screen and take over the screen share there, and you get started whenever you're ready.
Yes. You can see my screen now. Great. Hello, my name's Taylor. I have this problem regularly where I have people I care about, people I love, people I even like, but I just don't reach out to them or talk to them very often. And sometimes it's because I'm too busy, but sometimes it's also because I just don't know what to say. So I built Reach Out, which helps remind me to get in touch with people, and you can use it too. So the idea is that it will send you a text every time, basically at an allotted frequency that you select to reach out to that person. So if we were going to do that, this is our contact page, right? So if we want to add someone new to this, let's add my mother, because definitely someone I need to talk to more, who I should probably call her back once in a while. So first name and last name. To not dox my mom, I will put a fake number in here. And then I can create her as a contact. So she'll show up down here at the bottom. There we go. And if I'd like to, I can edit her contact. I can delete it. I can do whatever I would like with it, right? So now that she's a contact, great. She's in Reach Out. We can actually go to the Reach Outs themselves. And this is how we actually set up a reminder to reach out with her, or reach out to her. So we can select her as a contact here. We set the frequency. It's my mother. I want to say weekly, but let's be honest here. We'll go bi-weekly. And then we can also select a topic. So I worked with a couple different APIs. Basically, they will send you various different headlines or jokes or things that you can use to reach out to that person about. So my mother hates sports. Not really a big news person, but she loves a good joke. So we can select joke as our topic. And then our start date would be today. So we hit create reach out. And if we go down to the bottom here, we'll see similar to the contacts, we've created a new reach out for her, which we can also update or delete if we'd like to. And then to my phone, which you can't all see, so you have to take my word for it. But I just got a text that said, Taylor, you created a new reach out for Kay Dorset, which starts today. Reach out will remind you to get in touch with her bi-weekly. And then for the sake of the demo, I also sent what the follow-up text would be, which would be, hey, Taylor, you and Kay both like jokes. Try this one. I didn't plan this joke, so we'll see how good it is. 8 bites walk into a bar. The bartender asks, can I get you anything? Yeah, reply the bites. Make us a double. a great developer joke. This API is very heavy on the developer jokes. And that is reach out. So I would get something similar every 14 days. If I wanted to reach out to someone else, let's say, I probably, like while I'm doing technicals, I might want Peter, be able to reach out to him pretty frequently. We could even say daily, right? It's all business though, so no jokes, no news, no sports or anything. We'll start that tomorrow. I'm going to talk to you about that, Peter, but I got a technical that we can talk about. So this will remind me to reach out to you about it. But then once I get a job, I love Peter, but we don't have to talk every day. So I could set it to monthly or bi-monthly or, semi-annually, whatever might be appropriate. And then it would update that. And I just got a text saying, you updated your reach out for Peter. It'll remind you to reach out to Peter semi-annually. So that's kind of the core functionality of the app. Probably the hardest part is the actual texting API itself, which is all done with Twilio. That is how basically you can get the numbers and kind of customize the different numbers to send to. And then I'm also using, it's similar to a cron job, but it's a Ruby gem called Rufus, which schedules the actual reach outs to be sent on the bases that we select. So that's reach out.
All right. Awesome job, Taylor. I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to our panelist, Emily.
Thank you. This is a really timely app, Taylor. So I just wanted to start by recognizing that. I think it's really appropriate for the moment because a lot of us want to reach out and don't know what to say. One of the things that I had a question about was, what's that like the last mile? So once you get the joke on your phone, do you have to copy it and paste it, or how does that last piece work?
Yeah, it's just copy and paste right now. Or maybe the jokes. Now this joke API can send some questionable jokes, so maybe you want to find a different joke, but at least it's a starting point.
Got it. So you're gonna read all the jokes before you forward them to your mom.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about your data model. What did you learn about organizing data by building this app?
Yeah, I was about halfway through kind of building this app when I kept having issues, and I realized I wasn't even taking phone numbers from users who were signing up. So I was like, I don't understand what the issue is here. I don't know why none of these texts are working. So that was definitely a learning process. My sign up page probably gets more than it needs right now, but it kind of grabs a whole bunch of different data. The actual context page, I realized, is pretty minimal. The reach outs was really where the brunt of the data was, right? Where we have to take in kind of what the start date is, how often you want to talk to that person, and then I also have, it's basically a timestamp to track like when that reach out started and then when it's supposed to do the next one. So that's probably the most complicated data. And that was through a series of just kind of trial and error, and definitely fleshed it out at first, but realized maybe I had some things I didn't really need and didn't quite have other things that I needed.
Okay. What part are you most proud of, or what do you like the way you implemented the best?
I think what I'm most proud of is the texting API, just because that was it was legitimately difficult to get set up, and it felt like I was kind of beating my head against the wall for a couple days, and then broke through. And when the first text actually showed up on my phone, I was like, yes, this is great. Yeah. So that was fairly difficult, and probably the most proud of. And then just getting, I signed out, but the little modules that appear, there was a lot of kind of back and forth that went into making sure I was pulling the right data, because I'm using contacts information on my reach outs page, and then I'm also kind of it's looping through an array of that data. So then I kind of have to loop through an array of data kind of within another array to get the various data that I want on here, which was definitely tricky as well.
Nice, that's great. All right, I'm gonna pause because I know that we're trying to keep to a schedule, but I really enjoyed this, and I think it's a great app. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Taylor. Yeah, fantastic job. I noticed that I didn't see an option for frequency of hourly, which is probably how much Taylor actually reaches out to me. So I'll be happy when he edits the reach out to finally to go to like semi-annually like that. That'll be a nice change of pace. Cool. So let's go ahead and jump to our next presenter, which is Jake. So Jake, if you want to take over the screen share and unmute yourself, and you can go ahead and start presenting whenever you are ready.
Can you see it? So I built an app for a car auction. I have bought a lot of cars in my life, and I wanted to build an app to make that process easier. So I want to bid on a new car like this one. And so I can see some simple user information, some comments about the car. People are saying some bids, and I think I want to bid on this car. So I'm going to have to log in to do that. So log in, decide what car I want to bid on. Let's go back to that. And I think I'll try for let's get some more info from my API before I decide to bid. So these are some auction values. So the current bid is at 12,000, and so a low auction value is 17. So be a good time to bid because the bid's pretty low for what it is. And I like that information, some good cargo volume. So I think I'll bid on that. I bid 14,000. So now that I bid, I want to make sure I can go look at my bids. And I see I'm losing on some, but I am winning on the Mercedes for now. And since I just bid on that car, I think I want to list my current car. So it is a Jaguar. Blue. I got to put the VIN in there, which is where I get that API info from. So that is unique to the VIN number. So my car is now up for sale. And that is about it. I made this car auction website, and so because I've bought a lot of cars in my life, and I wanted to make the process easier and get more direct info from the seller, because sometimes they are not always truthful when they're trying to get the car off their lot. And this is directly from the VIN, so they can't lie about it. So you're seeing, and you can get some info on auction value. So I tried to make it as user-friendly as possible. And that is the gist of my app.
All righty, Jake. Awesome job. I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to our panelist, Jay Wengrow.
Yeah, Jake, this is really impressive. I'd love to hear more about that API that pulls the data about the cars. So you supply the VIN number, and I mean, you're displaying a lot of data. Tell me generally, like what kind of data you're getting back from this API?
I'm getting quite a bit. I tried to pull what?
Is it everything we see there, or are you picking and choosing certain things?
I did pick and choose certain things because there was definitely data that I didn't think like would be important in a car auction because it pulls a lot of data. That's why it takes some time of it.
What's the name of this
it's
API?
like cars XE, I believe it's what it's called.
Okay. And it also is supplying you the auction value as well?
Yeah, it's from the same website, but that is a different part of the website. So I'm using both. So to get vehicle specs, it's this one, and then market value is this here.
Okay, so it's two different like API endpoints you're using, one to get the main vehicle info and then another to get the auction values.
Correct.
Got it. Really cool. Was the API the most challenging part of the app, or is it the bidding system or something else?
I thought the bidding system would be difficult, but it wasn't that bad. It was probably the API, not because the API was hard to use, but it was difficult to find an API.
I see.
Actually, it took me quite a long time.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
To find what I think would be useful.
Got it. I really like the UI, by the way, of when you go to all the cars that you've bid on, the green and the red, that you can see immediately like which ones you're still in the running for. I think that's a really cool feature that you can see it all.
Right. Tried to make it easy so that you could also go directly back to that car if you are losing and want to get back ahead.
Yeah. Cool. Do you expect that you might launch this for real? If you truly are someone who buys lots of cars, this could be really useful.
I am not sure, actually. So
that's fair. Congrats, Jake. Really nice app.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think it's worth noting. Jake is correct. He had searched through a lot of different car APIs, and the one that you eventually ended up using, I think, is a paid API, right? It actually costs money per web request.
Yeah.
So, but the
market value one is not cheap.
Yeah. So you all should be honored because Jake is, spending his own money to demo this very real app with very real data, with very real VIN numbers. And so it's really cool that such an API existed. But at the same time, I'm looking at Jake's bid page, and it's like, man, he bid on a lot of cars. That's a lot more money than I would bid on. So if I were you, Jake, I'd be happy to see a lot of those red, because I'm thinking of gamble. You know what I mean? Like, I'm hitting some of those things, but I'm like, I don't think I can afford all of those cars if I win them. So the fact that some of them are red is probably good news for you. All righty, y'all. Yeah, so let's go ahead and switch over to our next presenter, which is Jonathan. So Jonathan, you can go ahead and share your screen, unmute yourself, and go ahead and start whenever you're ready.
Okay. Okay. So I made a food budgeting web app called Fujit. And for this project, I use Ruby on Rails for my backend and Vue.js for my front end. And the reason I decided to make a food budgeting app was because I wanted a specific app that would be able to track my food spending habits. So if I had leftover money in my budget, I could know to treat myself to a nice meal, or oppositely, if I went over my budget, I know exactly where I'm spending too much money in a specific category, and I'd be able to adjust my budget or spending habits. So when you go to my webpage, you'll go to this login page. There's also a sign-in page. So for my demo, I created 2 users using the app 2 different ways. So my first user is LeBron James. So LeBron will log in. And once he logs in, he'll be taken to all of his categories that he created. And if you're a new user, you obviously wouldn't have any categories. So you'd go to the sidebar here and you just add your own category. You put in the name, the budget amount, and how often you're trying to have that budget reoccur. So we'll go back to the categories. And so from the top here, So there's a pie graph here that displays all of the budget categories that LeBron has. And from this, you just kind of have like a nice little visual that shows LeBron's spending and you know which category budget he spent more on than others. So like if you hover over here, you can see the category name and the amount he spent. So you can tell just basically half of his budget right here is spent on dinner drinks and dinner proteins. And so, yeah. So yeah, below here, you can see all the different categories that he had created. And here you see the name of the category, the budget amount that he's trying to stay within, how often he's trying to stay within that budget amount with the reoccurrence. It shows here in green the total amount spent and how much left that LeBron has over. And you can also see here on the total amount spent, if he still has money to spend, it'll show in green. And if he went over his budget, you'll see that it'll be displayed in red. So we'll take a look at one of his categories. So I'll take a look at his breakfast, fruits and veggies. And in here, you'll be able to see the same information you saw from the previous page. You'll see the name, budget amount, reoccurrence, total spent, and amount left. But in addition, you'll be able to see this line graph where this blue line represents the budget, the target budget that he set for himself. And every time you add an item, you'll see this graph and this line just continue to incline as he gets closer and closer to the budget amount. And below the graph, you'll see just the items that he added to the specific category. And lastly, on this page, if you wanted to add an item, you just press this button here and it'll take you to this page. So if I wanted to add an item, so like, since that was breakfast, fruits and veggies, I'll just do like box of kiwis, and we'll say that's $20. And we'll say he bought that on the 2nd. This will first take you to an index of all the items that he's bought on all of his different categories. So this is kind of similar to like a transaction history, just so you can see like all the items that you're buying in every category. And then if we go back to that specific category, we'll be able to see that we added a box of kiwis. And then lastly, yeah, you'll be able to just log out and go back here. And then for my second user who used the app a little differently, I created a user called Bill Gates. And so for Bill Gates, he's more simple. He's not as meticulous as LeBron with his categories. He just has eating in, eating out, and a category called Diet Coke. And Diet Coke because Bill Gates is pretty well known to love drinking like 3-4 bottles of Diet Coke a day. And so he's trying to, limit his Diet Coke spending. So he made a separate budget just for that. And the same thing here, you can see for Bill Gates that he went over his budget amount, and the line, goes over that. And it shows you that he went over, and it's negative $6.25. And in red, it'll show the total spent. But yeah, that is my app, Fujit.
All right. Awesome job, Jonathan. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to our panelist, Emily.
Jonathan, one of the first things that I'm curious about is if you could tell me what you use to help you graph out those values.
What graph I used, or
yeah, did you use a particular library to help you make your charts and graphs? And what was that like?
So I used this website called Chartkick. We kind of it was kind of previewed in the class, but I definitely had a difficult time implementing like the actual data into the graph. So that was definitely a challenging part for me. But yeah, I definitely got a good amount of help for that, but I'm glad that it turned out pretty well.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, knowing what you know now, is there anything that you would like approach a different way?
I guess I think for me, like going into the whole project itself, uh, I thought it was going to be a lot easier to do some of these more simple things, but I found it to be more challenging than I thought, and definitely learning to set some harder deadlines for myself and kind of just divvy my time better, I would say, overall.
Can you, just like digging into that comment, can you give me an example of something that was maybe like a little bit harder than you expected and how you approached it, like how you overcame that obstacle?
Yeah, so I mean, like for sure, I spent a decent amount of time just trying to get the graphs to represent what the data here shows. And so, I mean, like just from the library that I used on Chartkick, it didn't give too much like information on how to use it. And I definitely got a lot of help. But just spending more time with it and kind of working with it, I definitely eventually overcame that.
Mm-hmm. What did you enjoy most about building this app?
I think the most enjoyable part for me was just knowing that like I was creating some product and like just being able to see the front end. It was just definitely more. It was just helpful for me and encouraging because I felt like I spent a decent amount of time on my back end, and it's not always easy to see a visual product for that. And so eventually when I was working on the front end and building the website itself, it was definitely encouraging, and it was definitely something that I was happy about.
It's great. It sounds like you really enjoyed the shaping of the product. If you had to add another feature, what would be like the next feature you would target?
Yeah, there was a lot of different things. I definitely wish I was able to implement some type of third-party API. But somehow you implementing that and having like different foods being added that way, I would definitely try to do something like that.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, I really appreciate this app. I think this is a challenge that a lot of us have trying to stay within our food budget. So it seems really, really useful. And I really liked your presentation. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Yeah, that was the first time I saw Jonathan present both of his users. So the first time he presented this to me, he just had LeBron James, where each of the food categories was like he spent, $5,000 here and $25,000 there. I'm like, Jonathan, like nobody's gonna understand what this app is when somebody's spending $25,000 on blueberries. And he's like, yeah, but this is a famous person, Peter. I'm gonna make another user who's normal. And then I see Jonathan log in as Bill Gates. I'm like, oh, great. Like this is gonna be another $1 million thing. And so I guess Bill Gates is a much more rational spender. So I appreciate you bringing it back down to earth, Jonathan, even though that was very surprising to see. All right, let's go ahead and take it to our next presenter, which is Megan. So Megan, if you can go ahead and share your screen, unmute yourself, and you can present whenever you are ready.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so my name is Megan, and this is Cal Talks Track. So the purpose of this application is to show chemical pollution in California. The U.S. government requires facilities to report the toxic chemicals that they're releasing every year on an annual basis, and they have done this since 1987. And this data is very valuable, and there's a lot of analysis that can be done with it by both the public or researchers, but it's currently, the database is sitting on the agency website in 30 plus CSV tables, one CSV table for every year. And so it's really valuable information, but it's a little bit inaccessible to the public because a general, member of the public maybe isn't going to go download 5 years of CSV tables and parse it to extract some trend or analysis. So I thought this data would be better used on a map so that people can have some more interactivity with it. And so without further ado, this is the interface. It initially just gives a quick modal of what the app is. Now, the app itself was in full created with Django and Python, and the database chosen was Postgres with a geospatial extension called PostGIS to support the spatial components that were in the tables that I was adding to it. And my front end was just vanilla JavaScript and another geospatial tool, a JavaScript library that helped with things like the map container and the zoom control and some of the other things I'll talk about. So looking at the interface here, the user can click on a button that brings up the modal again if they forget what they're looking at. And this right panel is sort of a data summary panel where users can see the data that they're looking at. There's 2 data sets currently in here, and they can toggle on and off layers. And this is a histogram chart. So the whole purpose again is to allow users to see like the current year and then the past 30 years of data. And so this time slider updates the map according to the year that it is currently selected on. And then with it is a Google chart API histogram chart that sort of summarizes how much pollution people are looking at by count. And so this time slider was vanilla JavaScript, and then this was an API with Google Charts. And then on the left side, there is a filtering panel that sort of lets users query the data that is being shown on the map. So they can filter by a specific industry that they're interested in, and they can search for that industry. And then in the works is a chemical filter as well. There are over 500 chemicals that are reported each year. And then looking over in the map container, you can sift through different base maps according to what context you want your data to be against. And so these are all sourced from different APIs or like tile, map tile layers. One of them is Mapbox, which is a popular one. There's Stamen, which is completely open source, and OpenStreetMaps, which is also open source. And so these controls, like I said, are from Leaflet. And then this search bar, you'll see come in handy. So this was built with a more academic or like research perspective, but it can be used by the general public or a researcher. And so let's pretend that I'm a parent who just got a job in Downey, Los Angeles, and I want to, I have a kid maybe who's sensitive, who has respiratory issues, and I want to make sure there aren't, any huge irritants around that area. And so I could use that locator to find a specific address, or here I just used the city. And this clustering based on a geographic area will just summarize the count of points that are in that area. And so each point is a release. And so if I zoom in and continue zooming in, it'll reveal the markers. And so sure enough, good thing I looked, there's a big fat refinery here. So maybe if I was looking at my house that I was looking at was right here, because this is definitely a neighborhood, I could sort of look elsewhere. And so now putting on the hat of a researcher, if I were interested in a specific industry, I had found this before, not really cool, but bad because pollution, but trend, I guess, by filtering by a specific industry paper and zooming out. Let's see. This again was with vanilla JavaScript here. I can sort of see the trends over the years, again, from this, depending on what I'm interested in as a researcher. And I find quite a lot here. And I can zoom in and find and explore what it is. And so this one, with the attribute, with the data that I include, you can sort of do extra research. So this was a paper facility and they were, releasing a lot of chemicals up to the 2000s. And so their name was Evergreen Pulp. And sure enough, with one Google search, found Evergreen Pulp, they had emergency cleanup requirement and they're not paying. So this could initiate like environmental justice organizations to act in the area or provide more funding to that area by maybe bringing more public attention or eye to that. So this app is meant to help or serve some of those issues or questions or concerns. And so yes, that is CalTalksTrack.
Awesome. Amazing job, Megan. I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to our panelist, Jay.
Yeah, I have to say I'm floored. This is a very impressive and comprehensive app, and I probably have about 100 questions, but I'll try to limit it to just a few. So the CSV data, you've taken that and you've put that in the Postgres database, is that right?
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
And
there was a bit of spatial stuff that, translation that had to happen in between that, but for the most part, it was a translation to Postgres.
Got it. Are the main data points like lat-long coordinates, or is it something else?
Yes. There's a column for latitude and a column for longitude.
Got it. And then how do you like cluster? So like I'm seeing that yellow circle of 19 there, right? When you zoom in and you see the individual markers, but when you zoom out, it's the 19. How do you cluster that to make that 19? Is that built into the OpenStreetMap API, or how does that work?
Right, so that was a Leaflet plugin. And so Leaflet is a really popular, so a lot of people contribute little projects. So this was a Leaflet plugin, and then this was another Leaflet plugin where somebody, determined a bounding box, and then in their code, they made a bounding box under geography based on how many points were in that area, and then summarized it using CSS.
So Leaflet is like a plugin for OpenStreetMap specifically, or is it for all mapping? Or how?
Yeah, it's for all mapping. You're able to just spice up your JavaScript because it's a JavaScript library. Leaflet
it's a JavaScript. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so that I see. So it's not on the map itself. It's like pre-processing the data, and then taking that data and putting it on the map.
Yeah, because I got the map itself. Like, there's different maps here. So what Leaflet would do is provide the container, I guess, and look for a tile layer, and then I would provide a tile layer or a source from different places. So this one was from Mapbox, and then the other one was from Stamen. And so it doesn't matter where you get it from, but Leaflet will process it for you along with data. It's a pretty powerful library.
Got it. When you switch to those different like satellite terrain, are those different mapping libraries? So this is an OpenStreetMap, or the other ones different ones? Yes,
they're all different ones. They're all different projects or initiatives. Mapbox is entire private company who specializes in making. I think they have their own JavaScript library actually, and they have their own API, like set of API tools. And then there's Stamen, which is an open source project, and they provide just a bunch of different base maps. There's like a fiery one, but I didn't include that one, unfortunately. But yeah, they're all sourced differently.
Wow, this is so cool. And you mentioned that this is a Django app in the back end. I'm curious to know what made you choose Python and Django.
The fact that I have a Windows machine, so and because after doing some research online, it was twofold. Doing research online, I saw that Django has a bit more online help for geospatial specifically. Like there are, I guess, more forums for people who are doing geospatial work with Django. They have a whole extension also. So I actually use GeoDjango instead of Django, and it makes it can easily transform models into geospatial models instead of otherwise. And then also because I have a Windows machine and my subsystem for Linux wasn't cooperating while I was trying to install Ruby on Rails with it at the time. So
got it.
Yeah.
Well, this is extremely impressive, Megan. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Awesome job, Megan. I think I might have gotten those panelists switched around. I apologize, Emily, because Emily is actually a data engineer. So I'm sure you might have had a lot of questions about the project as well.
I'm super geeking out, but that's okay. No worries.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and switch it over to our next panelist, which is Alan. Alan, if you can go ahead and share your screen and unmute yourself. And Megan, you can mute yourself. And then Alan, whenever you're ready to go.
All right, welcome to Climbers Only. This is, so basically I'm a avid climber. I love climbing, and sometimes it can be pretty hard to find someone to climb with. I also move around a lot, so when I'm in new areas, I don't really know a lot of people. So this kind of made this to make it a little bit easier to get in contact with people. You can create a user, you can pick how difficult or how well you climb, like different so you can pick like font scale, which is with ropes, and then Victor scale is bouldering without ropes. But yeah, so let's go in. So here's the home page. It kind of shows like all the different users in there. You can basically search for your area. So you can do New York or Colorado or California. You can also search by how well you climb. So B6 is a grade that you can climb on. Yeah, and then you can also message people, different messaging. Yep. And then you can also go to their profile pictures. You can see like where they're from, what they like to climb. And then there's just little tidbits for like different things that I put in. And then you can also look at a map, and this is just a area where I climb. These are different areas that I really enjoy, like Rumney, the Gunks, and then Chatfield is my little local crag. Yeah, and that's just about it. Yeah.
All right, Alan, awesome job. I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to our panelist, Emily.
So I'm really excited about this app. And I think one of the interesting things about anytime you have a social networking app is there's like an interesting problem of how you connect users and organize that data in your database. So I'm curious if you can tell me a little bit more about how you created those relationships.
I didn't really get too far into the relationships with individuals. It's just kind of, you see everybody and then you just kind of message who you want to see if they are around the same climbing level or like same area. It was definitely a lot of fighting with this theme and everything. It was pretty complicated, so didn't get to dive in as much as I wanted to in those aspects.
Okay, so it sounds like the theme was a particular challenge to you. Can you tell us a little bit about what you learned in the process of designing the front end?
Yeah, so a lot of the JavaScript that came along with the theme was definitely fighting other things like the Mapbox map that I was trying to get in. It took quite a bit of time to get that information in and working, just because it had to fight all the JavaScript from the actual theme. So I ended up having to like the bottom bar, I had to move it into individual pages instead of just having it on every page where it conflicted with everything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is kind of a little bit of a diversion, but the other thing that caught my eye was the messaging app. Can you talk to us a little more about how you implemented that, if you use any APIs?
I actually use the messaging format through Ruby on Rails. Forget what it's called, Action Cable, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, and that getting the back end working was pretty easy. It was more along the lines of figuring out how to send it to the front end that actually correlated it correctly and showed that the messages for that individual conversation, instead of just showing in all my messages instead of separating it out.
And then circling back around to the map thing, one of the things that I liked was how you could comment the individual locations. Can you talk a little bit more about how you implemented that?
So I used one of the functions within Mapbox that they have available. That was another thing I had to fight with. But it eventually came through. It was just a lot of the information is just fake data. So I just kind of knew those locations. It was latitude, longitude. So I put that in, and yeah.
Well, congrats. This is a neat app. And yeah, anytime you have a particular interest, sometimes it's hard to find people to do the things you love to do. So I think, this is a great product and a good presentation. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. And as Emily mentioned, like social media apps, we're used to seeing them, so they don't look like much. But when you look at the back end, like there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in there, right? Like I remember helping Alan, and I'm looking at his database associations, and it's like, okay, a user has many messages, but a user has many messages because I send messages and I receive messages, and just figuring out just the flow of that alone, even though it seems really obvious, there's a lot of hairy, kind of like connections back there. A lot of hard work goes into both the back end and the front end for a social media app. So yeah, I think you did a great job. It's awesome. Cool. So let's go ahead and take it to our next presenter, which is Karel. So Karel, you can go ahead and share your screen and unmute your mic and take it away whenever you're ready.
Hey guys, my name is Karel, and this is my project, Serenity. I actually am a recent father, so I'm entering in this world where I'm kind of concerned about the future of my child. Technology is kind of growing at an alarming rate. Children are now exposed to their phones, to different things on the internet, video games, and we never know how that affects them. Mental health is becoming a bigger thing. And unfortunately, we have things that will protect them from going on to certain websites or certain things, but we don't have an insight on how it affects them mentally. So I decided to go ahead and create an app that will go ahead and track the emotional state of the child while they are either on the internet, playing video games, or just, on YouTube, just regular usage. So I want to go ahead and collect all that data and then present it to the parents so they know when their child is, getting a little more angrier, if they're happy, if they're sad, just how the internet affects them mentally. So here's my app. It's Welcome to Serenity. And a user can go ahead and do the basic features where they can go ahead and sign up for an account. They can go ahead and log in. It's kind of hard because a lot of my app is on the back end. The child is not the one who's supposed to go ahead and see the app working. So I created a example of how this is going to look. So basically, when a child would be on the internet, the webcam will be working specifically to collect the data. And then what it will do is it basically will read the emotional state. So right now, I'm in a neutral state. If I'm happy, he'll go ahead and register it. If I'm starting to get angry, it registers all these different emotions. So basically what I want to do is collect this information and then provide it to the parent. So if the child is on YouTube, just watching normal channels, but they start getting angrier or upset, or maybe there's some comments that you as a parent don't have access to, but you see maybe they're starting to get bullied. This will give you a little bit of insight on how your child is starting to feel on the internet. I also wanted to create a portal or a place for parents where they could come together. So they can go ahead, share their feedback if their child's getting angry or if they want some advice. So I created something that parents could go ahead and log in, and they'll be able to go have their information. They log in, some data. This is actually a sample data at this point, but some data on their child of how often they're angry, how often they're happy, different data points. And they'll also be able to go ahead and look at different blogs. There's different users that will go ahead and post just brief description on what their post is about. Let's say their child, for example, I put a post up about children fighting, and basically my example, my experience, and what I recommend to do. So it's a place where parents can come together, but the main function is to go ahead and collect this information so that parents are a little bit more aware of what their children do on the internet. So that's overall the main the future. The main goal is to go ahead and also activate the API to go ahead and start tracking the user, so you wouldn't have to log in. They can just recognize the user's face. And I also want to go ahead and focus on possibly having to register 2 different individuals, so that if there's 2 people watching, the same screen, you can go ahead and monitor 2 different users at the same time. But yeah, this is my app, Serenity.
All right, awesome job, Carell. I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to panelist Jay.
Yeah, congrats, Carell. Not just on the app, but on becoming a father. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, sign me up for this, please. I have 4 young kids at home, and to help deal with quarantine and stuff, we just got them a PC so they could play games. So yeah, I tell me when and where I can sign up. Tell me about. I mean, obviously, the most intriguing part of this app is the facial recognition software. Tell me more about how that works. What software is it? What was like the setting up of it like? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So on the back end, when I'm collecting this data, I'm actually using an API, Microsoft Azure facial recognition.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I would go ahead and take a picture, send it over, and it will analyze the picture, and it will just provide me a JSON of the emotional readout. It gives me a lot of information, age, facial hair, glasses, but I pick out certain features that I need to go ahead and store on my data. Specifically to get this actual example of what it would look like, I did use, there's a few models that I had to go ahead and use TensorFlow, and it's a Python code that is able to be used on JavaScript. And so I basically use that implemented to go ahead and activate the camera and basically create a field where I inputted the masks on top of my webcam. So that way it tracks, if I go this way, if I move this way, it tracks everything and the motion.
Yeah, that's so cool. So which piece of the software like actually detects the emotion? Is that's part of the Azure?
Correct. Yeah, the API. When you send them the image, it will go ahead and render it, and then it'll give you a readout of basically it's a JSON file, and then I go ahead and pull that file.
Got it. And right now we're seeing the live reading. That doesn't seem like you're too anxious right now. But are you saving these data points, or you will be saving them?
Correct. Right now it's with Azure, it's expensive. There's the idea is that it would save it every second to have an accurate reading. So take a picture of and it would save every second, but then that data will kind of get a little crazy. But yeah, cool. the idea is to have this program running in the background consistently and collecting every second, so you have an accurate readout.
Very cool. This is really amazing. Yeah, congrats, Carell. Really impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great job, Carell. I like the contrast between this visual of your webcam where it's constantly spitting out all this information, and then welcome to Serenity. There's nothing but the text. I think you did a good job with that little contrast right there. All righty. Well, that takes us to our final presenter, which is Todd. So Todd, if you want to take it away, share your screen, unmute yourself, and present whenever you are ready.
All right, everyone. I'm Todd. So I made my app. It's a chore tracker for roommates. So I'm sure everyone's had a roommate who just like didn't pull their weight cleaning around the house, or just didn't do much of any of the chores. So I came up with an idea to kind of track it, and so you can log in. And when you log in here, it shows your information here, how many points you have, because there's a point system, which as you complete chores, you gain points. And as you get to so many points, you can start assigning chores to other people. And so we got the home information and household members. Can add a new assignment. Assign to myself here. You can once you, like I said, once you have so many points, you can add chores to other roommates. So there's these points here that tells you how much it costs in points to assign. And take away from my points. You can also complete your task. I click on the X button. You can edit task. Reassign them to someone else if needed. And then we have a leaderboard. And it has a bar graph here that shows all the different points, where you're at in points, and then a table here. In the future, I would like to add a feature where every week it would calculate the points and see who the leaders are, and the app would kind of like, just if you didn't do any assignments, it would tell you that you haven't done any assignments and kind of just like call you out for it. But that's pretty much what we have now.
All right, great job, Todd. I'm going to pass this over to our panelist, Emily.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. I think everybody's either had or been the problem roommate, so I think it's a very relevant application. So one of the things that I'm curious about is how do you handle the recurring nature of some of these tasks?
So that's actually like a feature I want to put in version 2 a little more. Handling that is, each task has a data point or column, and each task has like a reoccurring date, or like say the last time it was done, it needs to be done in the next 24 hours. And so up here, I want to put like a suggested assignments or suggested chores that should be done, and that you could click it and then assign it. Yeah, I think that's what you meant by your question. Yeah.
Yeah. And then one of the other things I saw that I was interested in was the calendar integration. Can you talk to me about how you implemented that?
Like here? Yeah, so there was a plugin, or like a library, I mean, that I grabbed. I don't remember the exact, I think it was like Date Picker, but yeah, it's just a simple library I just put in and rendered it there. It was a little challenging at first to get the dates to plug in, but yeah.
Tell me, what part of your app are you most proud of?
So something I haven't mentioned is I started building this in React Native for a mobile version. So, and it was a little challenging at first to get the JWT to stave, and because it was on mobile and there was like a different way of doing it, sort of.
Right.
So that was a little challenging, but I'm really just most proud of working with the data and the dates. Like converting that was a big challenge, going from Ruby to JavaScript and formatting it. Yeah, I'm just
nice. Yeah, date formatting and date storage can be really challenging, but that's neat that you made it or made progress towards a mobile app as well, because something like this would be especially useful in that context. Well, congratulations. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Thanks. I was gonna say, yeah, it was much different going from like Vue to React and React Native, but it really did translate over. some time.
Yeah. Well, congrats again. This is a great app.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, so you did a great job, Todd. I remember when Todd, you shared that with me, or you demoed that to me earlier, and basically at that point in time, Todd was the only one who had any points, and his roommates did not look like they were pulling their weight. So I don't know if those are your actual roommates or not. I don't know if he was trying to throw shade, but by the time he was presenting today, you could see that leaderboard was a little bit more evened out. He's like, I don't think he wanted officially on any recording any kind of shade thrown at those roommates over there. So yeah, but fantastic job. Seems like a really cool app. Yeah, so that was the last presenter. So yeah, I just wanted to say for anybody who's watching live or watching later, I wanted to just throw out another round of congratulations to everybody who presented. It's definitely not easy to take an idea that people have, in the class and take it to fruition. And being in a boot camp is, it's kind of a stressful time. It's a short amount of time to build a lot of stuff. And so you can tell, everybody here worked super hard, and everybody wants to do so much. And so, a big part of this particular project is, figuring out how to use your time effectively, because we don't honestly have a huge amount of time to build these projects. So the fact that everybody was able to build what they were able to build is, quite frankly, really amazing. And so everybody deserves, that round of applause. And in particular, this cohort, we're in the middle of a global pandemic. There's a lot of things going on in the world and politics, just all around the globe. So it's kind of a really tough time to be doing a program like this. So the fact that everybody was able to do it and be so successful at it is really, it's really amazing to see. So just a round of congratulations to the students again. I want to thank Kevin and Jennifer, the TAs. CEO Jay and the panelist Emily. I think we'll call it a night, but congrats again to everybody. Great job. And I will see you guys all tomorrow, but that is officially the end of these capstone presentations.